Good Wednesday, winning Wednesday, Wednesday morning. Oh my gosh. Today is one of those perfect examples of Mercury retrograde. My gosh. All right. So let me tell you about this weekend. This weekend, I uh, went to a retreat called Awakening Aphrodite. So it was a women's retreat where we focused on, a lot of feminine things and really tapped into what it means to be a woman, which feminine powers is all about flow and receiving. And so it's perfect that this came up. Now, I will say that Mercury retrograde has been really crazy lately. We've had uh, two women that had so many flight delays that they were supposed to get in on Thursday night and they didn't end up getting in until Sunday night at oh gosh, like 10 p.m. So, and then like a whole bunch of others that got like delayed and especially like going in and out of the airport. Right now in Texas, it is um, South by Southwest, which is a big music festival in Austin, and it is spring break for the kiddos. So there's a lot going on as far as the airports, anyways. But I guess up in Seattle, there was like a big blizzard, which was crazy, and Mercury is not helping things at all. We had three women that the address when they put it in like to Uber or whatever ended up taking them to completely different addresses. One ended up going like we were out in the middle of nowhere. Basically, it was like Driftwood, Texas, and so we were in the woods. And one woman ended up going to Austin, downtown Austin, which is not at all close. Another ended up going to like a Costco somewhere. So it was just like it was crazy. So there's been a lot going on. I will say before we get into like the act of receiving that the new moon in Pisces arrives um, tonight and tomorrow, right? Like it's new moon tonight and tomorrow. So um, this um, basically it's a lot of energy across all the signs. And so there's a lot of people, Pisces is very like emotional. Um, and new moons in and of themselves are already pretty like emotionally intense. Um, but some signs of course will feel this more, but like this is like the last clearing before the cosmic new year begins. So basically this is like the final energy wave, and I've been feeling it all weekend into today. And so things are feeling really sensitive. It's also a lot of our psychic gifts are being awakened, and the veils are kind of thin right now. So there's a lot of energy swirling around you. And also, like you might have like senses that, things are shifting. That, like I've been feeling for a long time that like things are going to be shifting in a good way, like like we are moving across country. That is a big shift for us. But not only that, but like I feel like things are going into a very positive turn right now. And so um like our systems, like we're attuned to energetic shifts, yes. However, we can't always put like a word on it or really know what's going on. But um, this is like basically confirmation. Like, yes, there are shifts. There are shifts. So just know that if things feel a little crazy, if things feel a little emotional, like you may notice like there are things that you've outgrown. You may notice that, uh, like things that you won't fully admit to yourself are coming up, or relationships are coming up, like endings of relationships. Things from your childhood like suddenly comes up, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Um, and so again, certain zodiac signs are going to be more sensitive to this than others, but there's a lot of like heavy anxiousness, or like saddening behind this energy. So it is very like you want to make sure you are very discerning by who is in your energy field right now. Like there, I would say pay close attention to like message, like things that keep coming up over and over and over, or like maybe the universe is trying to give you a message and you're hearing it from different things. Pay attention to those kind of things. Pay attention to your emotions. Pay attention to synchronicities and symbols and like angel numbers and things like that. um Patterns. Pay attention to patterns. Like you might actually suddenly recognize that there's a pattern that you've missed all along, and suddenly like you're realizing it. Um, and try to do this without guilt. Like this is a lot of clearing. We want to definitely rest, but like don't shame yourself for all the things that you've done in your past. Like I will say that everything that we've done up until this point was needed, so that we can see the difference, so that we can see the other side. So like you have to see the dark in order to see the light, right? um, Pay attention to how you're feeling, what comes up in dreams. um, and allow yourself to process. Like like naps are good. Salt baths are good. Taking it easy. Definitely. I'm talking to myself here too. So today I wanted to again go back to like this retreat that happened this last weekend. um, and something really interesting that came up is like, of course, like I deliver breath work, because of course, I did. And so, like people have huge energetic clearings, and of course, I always know that they're going to have an amazing experience because, breath work is just amazing in my opinion. But, you know, when people were talking about like all the things that came up for them and how amazing it was, like your voice was amazing and perfect, and like you came to me exactly at the right time that I needed you, and like the music was awesome. And then when they start like when they're talking about like what I do, totally easy. Like I can accept that like so easily. I love hearing it. I love hearing about their experience. And then like when it starts, any of that receiving energy, or that like the compliments and stuff start to turn into like me as a person, I still notice that I tense up. Like my body is like, like deflect. Like, no, I need to be humble, right? Like, you're doing all that on your own. I'm just your guide, like things like that. Um, so it made me realize, like, when I actually really looked at it and noticed that my body was like tensing up, and I could feel my like shoulders curling in on themselves, like as people were talking to me about things. And it cracked something open in me, because I know a lot of women are used to deflecting and being humble, and like being like, gosh, like we don't accept compliments. We don't know how. Like we were taught not to. Um, and so, you know, all these beautiful things happen, with breath work. I knew all this ahead ahead of time. Like when people let go, like they are going to have amazing experiences. And again, like I receive all those compliments, reflections, and whatever, like with ease. Someone says the session was the most powerful breath work they've ever experienced. And, like I just, it makes me just so happy. And so when you find that you want to like minimize something, when somebody's giving you a compliment or they're talking about you, when you're wanting to minimize it or redirect it, it's so much harder to accept a compliment. And so what I realize really is, sorry, my head is like all over the place today. But when you're receiving compliments about what we do, it feels safe because, like doing is something that we can control. Like we did something, there is a result to it. We produce, we earn the praise. There is a transaction that, like, that makes sense to the nervous system. But when we are trying to receive reflections about who we are, like our presence, our being, our essence, like that requires vulnerability. It requires us to believe that we are actually worthy of being loved just for existing and just for being here. And that is one of the big things that I'm actually working on, is that I don't need to perform. I don't need to produce. I don't have to be useful in some way. I am useful just by, I'm worthy just by being here. And like that comes from like a long, long line of proving worth and proving doing things to be loved or whatever it is. And so women, again, like this is especially prevalent, we learned that love was conditional. Conditions were attached to love, that we're taught to say like affirmations to try to change our state. And that doesn't always work because like subconsciously we know what's bullshit or what we think is bullshit, right? Like we can know affirmations and intellectually, but like the moment someone tries to give us that reflection, like our body will flinch because somewhere underneath, again, subconsciously, there's still a part of us that's waiting for the catch. Like, what do they want in return? Like, is this real? I should not need this. I don't want to seem arrogant, right? And we deflect, we minimize, we redirect, and it's not because we're broken. Like it's because our nervous system is doing what it was supposed to do, like it was trained to do, what society told us, what we were conditioned to do, right? We don't want to be too seen. Because being too seen, especially if you grew up in an environment that was unpredictable, or attention might have been unpredictable, like where maybe being noticed sometimes meant criticism, or again love you had to perform for, or like you might have said something in front of a group of friends and then been made fun of for it, like things like that. Your system learned that visibility sometimes equals vulnerability, and vulnerability is not a good thing to your nervous system. I know everybody says to be vulnerable, and in fact I say to be vulnerable because it does allow you to relate to other people. But when someone is shining a light on your vulnerability, your amygdala doesn't hear praise there. It's hearing that you're being exposed. And exposure means risk. And so receiving in and of itself is basically the paradox of the giver. Like people who are most generous, like healers and teachers and, empaths and medical and fixers. Like, we are almost always the worst receivers. And it's not a coincidence here, because giving feels safe because it keeps you in control of the exchange. When you give, you are deciding the terms. You decide how much, to who, to when. And, giving becomes like this active state. And for a nervous system that learns safety through doing, staying active feels like, you're protecting yourself. Receiving is the opposite. It requires you to become passive, to be open, to wait, to trust, to, trust what's coming in, trust what's coming towards you, and trust that it's safe to let it in. So for, again, a nervous system wired in vigilance, that softness might feel really close to vulnerability. So the body blocks it. It's not, again, not conscious. It's not out of, unappreciation, but it's protection. So the 5 ways we block receiving. A, we deflect it. Someone says something beautiful and you immediately redirect. Oh, it's nothing, or, you did all the work, or I still have so much to learn, or I'm not an expert, like you move the spotlight before it can fully land, because again, being fully seen, even in praise, activates the old exposure wound. Number 2, or B, you minimize. You receive the compliment, but you immediately shrink it down. Like, oh, it's nothing. Like, it was just a small thing. Like, anyone could have done that, right? You are essentially arguing with a person trying to love you. You're negotiating the gift down to the size of your worthiness. Actually, it's the ceiling of your worthiness, the worthiness that you can accept, that your system is willing to accept. 3, you reciprocate immediately. Like, someone gives you a compliment and before it even landed, you're giving a compliment back. Like, it looks generous, but it's actually a strategy of your nervous system. Like, you're equalizing the exchange between you so you don't feel like you are in debt to somebody or exposed, or, like you owe them something. Number 4, you intellectualize. Like, you receive the words, but you say in your head, analyzing them instead of them letting them drop in your body. Like, do they really mean that? Or what is their motive? Or is this genuine? Or, your mind starts to become a filter that prevents the gift from ever reaching your heart. And then number 5 is the collapse. This one is not talked about as much, but sometimes receiving feels so unfamiliar that it actually triggers like grief or tears or overwhelm, or a sudden wave of emotion that feels disproportionate to the moment. And it's not a weakness, but it is your body finally exhaling years of unmet needs all at once. So again, like, this all comes from like deeper roots and deeper wounds, like the conditional love wound. Like, you knew that love in your early environment came with strings. Like, praise might have been followed by criticism, or gifts came with guilt, or you didn't know, like, attention wasn't predictable, or your nervous system might have learned that if something good comes, that you should brace for impact because, it could be taken away, or, it's kind of like that self-sabotage portion. Like, you're expecting the downfall, right? So it becomes like a setup for disappointment. The unworthiness wound, where I feel like a lot of people are in this, but somewhere you might have absorbed the message that, spoken or unspoken, that you were too much or not enough or only valuable when you were useful. And so receiving for simply being rather than doing does not compute, because the equation was always like, my worth is tied to output. I have to do something in order to be worthy. And then the last one is the visibility wound. So maybe being seen once led to being criticized or made fun of or bullied or shamed or made to feel arrogant. So you learned that it's better to stay small, to be humble, to stay just under the radar. And receiving a compliment means, being seen. And being seen, of course, meant pain at one point or another. So energetically, you know, you cannot magnetize what you cannot receive. So this comes down to like manifestation. Like, it's not just about sending energy out into the universe, but it's also being open to have the energy coming back in. So every time you deflect a compliment or minimize a gift or tense up when someone tries to love you, you are sending the universe in the field a message that it's not safe for me to receive these things, right? And then your field is going to listen to you. So this is like the law of circulation. It requires both in and out, right? Giving and receiving. When you block one direction of the flow, the whole current stops or it slows down. That's why so many generous, hardworking, spiritually aware people still have abundance issues. Like abundance just feels out of reach. And that's because they're incredible like senders, but they're terrified receivers. So again, receiving is not selfish. It's the completion of a circuit. So again, with the new moon energy, Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So it's a sign of disillusion and surrender and return to source. It rules the subconscious and the dream state, the invisible world, the space between, what is and what was becoming. And, new moon signifies new beginnings, right? It's the seeding moment. But new moon in Pisces is not about doing something new. It's, becoming something new by releasing what's no longer you, what's no longer true. So I want you to ask yourself, like, what are you still holding on to that never was truly yours to carry? Is it that, by doing things for yourself, you're selfish? Is it by receiving a compliment means you're arrogant? Like, those don't serve. So with wounds around receiving, like, the unworthiness, the unconditional love, or the conditional love, the visibility fears, like Pisces literally is specifically designed to dissolve those. And not through force, but through, and not through analysis either, but surrender and compassion and the willingness to feel what has been unfelt. So this is like the most receptive new moon in the entire entire zodiac. So this is like Pisces is like pure yin energy, like open, fluid, boundless. It doesn't push, it doesn't produce, it simply receives the universe and reflects it back as art and intuition and healing and creativity. Like this new moon is essentially like a cosmic invitation to practice exactly what we've been talking about, to soften the armor around your heart and let something good finally land without bracing for the catch. So, can you receive love without earning it first? Can you receive rest without feeling guilty about it? Can you receive abundance without immediately giving it away? Can you receive your own greatness without shrinking it to a size that feels safe? So, I did do a new moon ritual last month. It's pretty much the same thing. Just like light a candle, maybe sit comfortably with your hands open, facing upward in your lap. This is the receiving pose, right? Like physical posture of receiving, and take 3 slow, deep breaths. And maybe put one hand on your heart and say, like, I am safe to receive. I am worthy of receiving. I am open to love, abundance, and recognition, not because I earned it, but because I exist. And, write in your journal. So, new moon in Pisces is like your permission slip to not hustle, but and not to set aggressive intentions either. Like I know it's fire horse year, so a lot of us are like, yeah, we gotta go get it. But like really the thing to do here is to actually like give yourself more rest, relax, be open, um, and your body is opening. Your body is a vessel. Your breath is opening you, and this moon is kind of the moment to soften, to open, and let the universe finally hand you what it's been trying to give you probably all along, and to practice staying open long enough to actually receive it. So, I hope that was helpful. And if you guys do like a new moon ritual, let me know in the comments. Like I want to know like what your intentions were, what you're ready to let go of, what you're ready to receive. And drop those in the comments so I can see them all because I love hearing feedback from you. Anyways, have an amazing week. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye now.